this right now. It's just a bit traumatic. But obviously, I mentioned the age of 15. Obviously, that was when I left home. And obviously, I didn't speak to him then for 15 years. There was a big incident, which will be on the police records, where I finally stood up for myself. There was a 2 or 3 day incident, and it led to me being charged with assault. So obviously,
What was that incident?
so at 15, obviously after being abused from the age of 2 onwards, he attacked me the first night and got arrested. I then dropped the charges. The police officer came to me and said, listen, you're living here, he's living here, do you really want that situation? And obviously at that point at 15, I didn't understand the full sort of what could have been done at that point, and obviously the police officer let me down. He should have explained to me that obviously he should have really found out what really caused the issue to start with, but he just saw it as a one-off incident, and he sort of talked me down a little bit. And obviously he came back the following day and he attacked me again. This time, obviously, I defended myself. I put him to the floor. My mum called the police. He's attacking again, obviously talking about my dad.
When was this?
This would have been, if I was 15, I'm now 29, so it was a long time ago. Probably around 2007, 2008, that kind of time. So it was a two-day incident, and on that second day, the officer on that second day come in. The first time he threw my speakers. I was into DJing at the time. Thought I was going to be the next big DJ. You know, where every 15-year-old sort of goes through that. And obviously, he threw me speakers that I paid for myself. It wasn't overly expensive, but still for a 15-year-old, it was 200, 300, 400 quid kind of thing. The equipment, the mix board, you know what I mean? He threw them out the window kind of thing. And obviously I tried to push him away from the expensive equipment, and I got beat on for it and thrown around my room kind of thing. He come in the next day and he grabbed my electronic keyboard, the sound's on, and as he walked out with the keyboard, he smashed it against my speakers again, and I pushed him and it started into a fight, and I obviously beat him to the floor for the first time in 15 years, and he press charges basically after 15 years of abuse. He's told me, when you're big enough, obviously I thought he'd be man enough at that point. So obviously once I am big enough to accept that and shake my hand, but that wasn't the case. You get what I mean?
Okay.
Obviously he pressed charges. Not only did he press charges, he went through to it with court, and obviously he found some kind of, he got some kind of fix out of that. He was really enjoying that moment kind of thing. After he abused me, I finally stood up to him. He then went and pressed charges on me.
Okay. Have you seen him since then?
I've recently, because I started getting in touch with my mum again, but then obviously she got back with him.
Okay, so when did you get back in touch with your mum?
I got back in touch with my mum about 15, so it would have been about 3-4 years ago.
Okay, and when did you get back with your stepdad?
Pretty much the same time, from my understanding. Obviously I don't understand the situation, I don't believe that to be true, but I think he left the property for a short period of time, knowing that I was back in touch with my mum, and then tried to worm his way back in to my life kind of thing.
So the last 4 years then, have you had issues with him?
There's been a few nitty picky things. He hasn't assaulted me, he's just been stupid and horrible, trying to play nice. My sister told me that he was crying and things, saying that he just wants to be a part of my life and things like that, which I know is not true. But obviously asking me for another chance, which I said no. Obviously I tried to get in touch with my mum, and obviously that's how it all came about, and ended up staying there, and obviously but no, it was just like stupid things. I had a motorbike accident, and I asked him come pick. I said, you know what? If you want to actually make up, I'll pay for it. Come pick me up. And obviously, come pick me up. I'll pay for the van hire. We'll load the van. I'll chuck it in your backyard for a couple of weeks. I'll get it fixed within 2 weeks. And within 2 weeks, it'll be gone. And he called me up the very next day and said, move your bike. If it isn't moved in a week, I'll let the police tow it away. And it's like, why? And it's like, because it's not taxed. It's on private property. What's your problem? He's just being really awkward, really pedantic. And I said, all right. And I turned up the very next day because I had a motorbike accident. It was, do you know the side handlebar? It was bent inwards, so obviously I couldn't push it away because I'd been holding one side, do you know what I mean? So I bought a £25 handlebar, cheap handlebar, ready to stick it on the bike the very next day so I could wheel it away and put it in a garage. And obviously I turned up the very next day even though he said, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's beside the point, obviously, you know what I mean? That was just one. I tried to give him a chance and obviously it didn't happen. Do you want me to go back? Anyway, that's recent. Do you want me to talk about the prehistoric issues that have really...
Yeah, before we do, what's caused you to contact us 5 days ago?
To be honest, I called up originally for my property. I've got a lot of property at my mum's address, and obviously they're messing me about, and I've got work tools, I need to work,
Okay, so you phoned for
and
your
I'm
mum's
now
address.
losing out. I'm now losing out on my living because I haven't got the tools to do my job.
So you phoned us because you wanted your property back initially. What property?
What property it was? Tools. There's 2 suitcases full of tools in the shed.
Anything else at all?
There's clothing.
Okay. Anything else?
There's the hood to my aquascutum coat, which was taken maliciously.
Okay. So various belongings.
There's things I've made for my children.
Okay.
Wood carving, boxes that I've made out of wood, that kind of thing, toy boxes. There's a little slingshot I made again out of wood that I made for my child. There's a painting that I'd really like that I've painted.
Okay. And why were they being difficult then and not giving
I
you back?
don't know, because I've stopped talking to them again.
So did you actually speak to them at the address?
I was doing for a very short time, yes. I introduced him to his grandchild, well, his stepdad, but obviously my mum's grandchild. Obviously they've been together for a very long time. And obviously I started trying to sort of incorporate my life into theirs again, just a little bit as family kind of thing, because my sister's told me how upset he is about everything, he really regrets it, and you know what I mean, spun a tale. And obviously I fell hook, line and sinker for it, and to be honest, I think she did as well. I think she really believed. I said to her after that, well, what was all that about? And she went, look, I don't know. And she just like put her arms up at me and said, look, I really don't know what he's playing at. He mugged me off on my motorbike and I still give him another chance. And it's just time and time again. He just kept mugging me, and I said, look, after what you put me through as a child and what you've done to me as a child, I give you one more chance, and I've given you how many other chances since that one more chance, and you just keep doing it again and again. You can't help yourself.
Okay, so where did you speak at the address? Did you go inside, speak at the door?
I was in and out. To be honest, he's normally at work anyway, so I'm normally around my mum, which is not what I'd wanted. I don't want to be a part of his life. The only time I give him a chance is when I asked him to come pick me up when I had a motorbike accident. I could have paid 25 plus a mile at a garage for somebody to come tow me away, but instead I gave him 200-300 quid to hire a van and come pick me up. Do you get what I mean?
Okay, so you're at the address, you're there to get things back, but you're
That was me. Yeah, that was me giving him a chance when I could have just got somebody else to do
You're there
it.
to get your stuff back, and they're giving you a hard time. So
This is later on down the line.
okay.
Yeah.
With regards to the 14th, then you phone us up initially because you're not getting your stuff back.
And decided I think it's time that I tell my story really. It was, to be honest, it was a split second decision at that present time. I mean, I do have autism, and obviously, I wouldn't understand it as a child that there was anything wrong with that kind of relationship. Do you understand? I wouldn't have had any idea. Well, most kids wouldn't anyway, irrelevant to the autism, but it does make me extra sensitive at that age, not understanding. Do you get what I mean?
Okay. So you phone us up, and
Well,
was there a wait to get through?
no, there wasn't much of a wait.
Okay.
Kind of went straight through.
And then you reported what's happened previously.
Eventually, yeah. I was telling them about the property, and then it was just a split second decision. I thought, you know what, it's time that this gets put on record, and I don't know where you want to go with it being prehistoric, but I mean, there are some very serious things that have happened throughout my childhood. I've had quite a few scars. I've been beaten on every other weekend. There's a time when I was almost drowned, and there's been a couple of occasions where I've been very close to being sexually assaulted. There's definitely a sexual nature there behind the situation.
Okay. If we start, because I'm just going through the log of what you put, if we start with it saying you've been belted all your childhood.
Not all my childhood. I'm only mentioning the age of 2 because I know obviously that I was at the age of 4 when my sister was born, and this was all prior, quite way before. And I've had this conversation with my mum, and she's very quickly shut me down on the conversation. I have had this conversation with my mum, and talked about the age of the abuse. She was away with work a lot. She worked night shifts as a manager.
What would you get belted for?
Nothing. I wouldn't know. Nothing.
How often?
To be honest, there's only one incident that I remember. I know it happened a lot before I ran away. That's all I know. I can't remember how many incidences at all.
Okay. What's the one incident you can remember?
The one incident I graphically remember was where it was another repeat occasion. I knew in my mind that it was a repeat occasion, and I ran away. I jumped over the bed, and he couldn't catch me. You know what I mean? He's a fat lazy bastard. He was running after me with the belt.
Okay. How old were you?
I think it was around 2 to 3. And it was way before my sister was born. And when my sister was born, I'd have been 4.
Okay, so the only one that you can remember is when you were 2 to 3.
But I know obviously there's multiple occasions prior to that.
Okay.
And that's to the point where I broke. I remember because I remember there was a point where I broke to run, if you understand what I mean. If you can imagine there's a long period of trauma, obviously eventually there's going to be a break. Yeah.
Okay, so when was it your mum used to work? Because it said that it used to be every weekend when your mum went to work.
I think at that present time she was a manager at McDonald's.
Okay. How old were you?
When my mum was a manager at McDonald's, that would have possibly been from the age of, I don't know, from that age of 2 going on onwards, 4, 5, maybe 6.
Okay. So your mum used to go to work. And when she was out, he would constantly come in and throw me about and smash my room up. Do you want to go into a bit more detail with that?
There was multiple occasions, and I've actually been hospital and had to have my forehead glued back together or stitched. There would have been at the time bruises. To be honest, I can't remember any physical bruises itself. I wouldn't, as a child, recognise it. I wouldn't even know what a bruise was. But I remember being extremely sore for weeks, even sometimes months after. I know that I don't know, it was pretty much every other weekend it had been over. Normally it had been over tied in my bedroom, is what I remember. As a child, obviously, I'm sure you've been told to tidy your bedroom, and I'm sure most lads, as they tidy, they play with everything. They find old toys, that kind of thing, and they're like, oh, and they play, and he'd come back a couple of hours later, and even though I've made a lot of progress, he'd come up and smash it all up again. There's been times where I've managed to completely tidy my room, and because I've had action figures in my Lego box, he's then took the whole Lego box, thrown it at me, and I'm talking a big tub. I'm not talking a small, I'm talking a big, massive toy box full. And he's launched the whole toy box at my face. All the Lego's gone all up my face. He's then tipped my bed upside down, smashed me into my cupboard doors, smashed me into my window, tipped my cupboard upside down, and then told me to pick everything up and tidy up. And that's God's honest truth. And that's happened multiple occasions.
Okay. When your mum was working nights, you used to put Euro trash on. Can you tell me about that?
Well, he used to pretend to be asleep, and it's only now as an adult looking back that I realise what that actually is. Obviously, I remember at least 6, 7, maybe 8 times at least. Now, I remember telling me next door neighbours at the time, this would have been at the age of 10, roughly, or was my sister born by then? She would have been, yeah.
Okay. So all close together then, the 6, 7, 8 times, all around the sort of time when you were 10 years old. Okay. What happened?
It would have been when my mum was working away as a manager at McDonald's, definitely. At that time, I remember she was actually working at the Newcastle branch, which I remember going to her late at night. There was another incident that's not worth mentioning. I found a needle in the toilet, and that's why I remember it was in the Newcastle. And there was a big incident and ended up, anyway, what was I just about to say? Oh, sorry, yeah. So he used to pretend to go asleep. I think Eurotrash would have been on about 11,
Okay. So
11 o'clock.
presumably you were in the lounge then?
In the living room, yeah.
Okay. How come you were still awake then?
Probably for that reason. I have no idea. I wouldn't normally be up at that time. I'd normally be told to go to bed. I wouldn't have any aspect of time.
Okay.
I don't know if most kids do, but I simply didn't at that time. I don't know if it's due to my disability or it's just me being a child. I don't know. But
Okay. So if he was pretending to be asleep, where were you?
sitting pretty much next to him. If the sofa was where you're sitting now, which would have been the exact same side, he'd have been lying on the sofa, sitting just in a pair of tight pants, not boxer shorts or anything like that, just tight whities. I even remember a dark navy blue pair.
So he would pretend to be asleep. How do you know he's pretending to be asleep?
On a couple of occasions I've turned round and seen movement with his playing. Obviously, to be honest, knowing that I'm doing something naughty and checking to see if he's awake, kind of thing.
Okay. And what were you doing whilst that was going on?
Fascinated on what was on the screen as a 10-year-old, obviously. Have you ever watched Eurotrash?
I haven't.
No.
Okay. Well, so what is it? Yeah, I've no idea. I've not watched it.
European porn.
Okay.
I think it's the best way to describe it. Eurotrash. I think it's self-explanatory.
Okay.
European trash porn.
Okay.
A different variety, mixture of things, tours, that kind of thing.
Okay. How long was it on for? Did you have any
I
conversation
wouldn't.
with him about it?
No, never had a conversation with him. Normally, he'd wake up in big air quotes shortly after and tell me to go to bed.
He would wake up. Okay. Okay, so he would wake up and just go to bed. Who put it on in the first place?
He'd keep the remote.
Okay.
Specifically, the remote was actually visible underneath his body. Big, fat, hairy, sweaty body.
You say you was pretending to be asleep, you saw movement. What
If I need to be sick, can I use that bin, please?
If you
That's
did,
got a bag in. It's alright, I've
if
just
you need
heaved.
to be sick. He would pretend to be asleep. Sat in the room. You say you saw movement. What specifically could, like, how would you know specifically what the movement was, or do you not? Is it just movement that you saw?
Can you give me a second, sorry. I'm back in the room, I think. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, you're saying you would pretend to be asleep and masturbate. How can you say for sure?
Definitely.
Specifically,
There's no mistaking. Looking back then, obviously, I don't want to miss it again, but obviously, I wouldn't have understood as a child anyway. I wouldn't have understood what was going on. I don't know that's on the motor switch on the. I don't know. But obviously, looking back, I know for a fact what was happening. I can clearly see it. I understand. Obviously, what it is now as an adult and what he is. Do you get what I mean? He was clearly hands down his tighty whities, and it would have been. There's a couple of times where I've turned around knowing that I'm doing something really naughty, thinking, oh shit, thinking that he's actually asleep. And I'd see his smirk on his face, thinking, and then he was sort of playing with himself.
did you have any conversation with him about this before or after?
No, there's never any interaction like that.
So then you would wake up and tell you to go to bed.
hmm
Okay.
That would have been after the actual. It finished very shortly after every time. I remember speaking to my next door neighbours. This actually happened just up the road from here, by the way. Near Hay, Dillon Road.
Okay. Who was present in the lounge? Just the two of you?
Yeah.
Okay. No siblings, just the two of you then?
And to be honest, looking back, it might have been going on for quite some time prior to my sister being born, because it was a 2-bedroom bungalow, and I can't recall going bed because me and my sister shared a room. But saying that, me and my sister wanted to share the room until she was a little bit older, and I'd have been a little bit older, so that might be why I'm confused.
Okay.
So,
so, like you said before, you left home at about 15, then not had any contact.
there is another possible sexual incident as well. Again, very close. Again, it's one of them to be looked on either way. There was a situation. This was at a different property. This was at Rowan Grove, number 2, Rowan Grove in Bullerton. I would have been the age of 11, maybe 10, 11, maybe 12 tops. Can you remember Marilyn Manson? I mean, just because obviously you're similar age to myself, obviously, you can, at the time, can you remember the news story of him removing his ribs to South Felicio? Vaguely, I can imagine it's quite a big story at the time as a child, yeah. Obviously, I can remember hearing that story at the age of 12 and trying to have a go myself. Obviously, and I was doing it on the hallway, on the upper landing. I remember him sneaking up the stairs. I didn't hear him. I don't know if he snuck or I just didn't hear him at the time. And it was the way he responded to what happened that sort of switched me on to what he's kind of all about.
How did he respond?
Um, he caught me basically with my legs over, trying to. Yeah, I know it's a little embarrassing, but whatever. Children are children; they do stupid things like that. And he instead like if I met one of my kids in that situation, I'd have gone, "Oh my God, do that in your room or something, lad. Fuck off, go on." But instead, he was very curious. Like, come here, son. I was butt naked. He's like, come here, son. What's going on? Come tell me all about this. And he's like, come here. What's going on? I was like, no, no. And my instinct, even though I didn't understand, my instinct was no, no. Right now, I want to get away from you. Which, well, to be fair, an 12-year-old won't be cool doing that. I'm gonna want to get away from my dad anyway. Which is probably why I didn't sort of um, switch on to the way he reacted at that age. It's not. It's only later on in life. Do you get what I mean?
Okay.
It's to me. I don't know about yourself. That kind of response to seeing your child trying to do that. You get what I mean? That's not the right response. Do you get what I mean?
Um, so these all happened when you were 10, 12 years of age. You then left at 15 after the assault on your dad, and then you've not had any contact with him until about 4 years ago. And you say the reason for this is because of that, getting your stuff back. They're giving you a hard time getting your stuff back, and you've decided now's the time to make us aware.
It wasn't, to be honest with you, it was a split second decision at the time. I've been through a hell of a lot. I wanted my stuff back, and it's nothing to do with things. And it's nothing. In the list of property, I've just remembered, by the way, there's 2 motorbike helmets and some sharp motorbike boots as well.
Okay.
That I need putting in the list. I really need back.
Where do you say they live?
19 Bevan Avenue, Trumpets.
Okay. What, and they're flat out refusing you to have your stuff back?
Well, I'm not talking to them. I mentioned a few things that had gone on to me mum, and my stepfather called the police. I don't know what's in the report. And when I've asked for my things back, they've made some kind of accusation up. So I've asked my sister again, said, listen, can you arrange all these things? And she's been messed about just as much as me.
Okay, so you've made this report to us, and you've come here today. What are you hoping to get from this?
I have no idea. I don't know how you deal with prehistoric things. I don't know if you're going to put questions to him or...
Yeah, that's the difficulty. Something that's happened 20 years ago, and you're saying just 2 of you there. So it's one of them where...
It's one word against another, isn't it?
One word against the other.
What it comes down to.
No evidence. What we can do though, you say you've got a young sibling who's living there, Jacob.
I don't want you to do that. I don't want to put him through that.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you're saying you went through these things when you were a child, it could be possible that he's experiencing the same things as what you've told us about.
I know my mum really fears when he leaves the property with him. I mean, she shakes. She's really scared. He's also had her sectioned for trying to leave him on a couple of occasions. He works within that kind of job, and he found it very easily to play her off and mess with her. I don't know if he's ever physically abused her, because I've never seen anything like that, to be honest. But I know that as a child, I've grown up and witnessed him mentally abusing my mum. I know that he's had her sectioned illegally, and I completely disagreed with at the time, which started the abuse between me and myself. That 2-day fight was basically not over my past history with him, but over how he was treating my mum, to the point that as a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old, I said to my mum at a hospital, Mum, do you want me to get you out of here or not? Because I will talk up. There's been multiple occasions where I've offered my mum a place to live and said, look, if you ever need anywhere to go, you can live here. I've told my uncle that there's a lot of things going on in the household and you need to sort it out, but nothing's ever happened. I don't know.
Are social services involved with their house at all?
Not with the house. They were with me as a child, obviously being homeless at the age of 15.
Okay. we can make them aware so they can speak to your brother who's living there and see if he's having any issues at all. Because that's the concern. We can't really change what you've told us, but if something's happening at present, we can at least find that out with your brother and safeguard him if he needs it.
I don't know what to do about that situation.
Okay, why? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking to go through my sister. She's only 4 years younger than me. She's got her head a little more screwed on than me, and obviously I was hoping for her to be a sort of counsel to my brother, ask the questions herself, and then obviously come back to yourselves with the information. I don't want to put my brother through that. Can you imagine? I don't know. Can you imagine being that age and an officer coming to yourself, popping them questions to you? I mean,
okay, what school does he go to?
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. No.
Okay.
The answer's no, I can't.
What we'll do.
If you go behind, I can't stop you, can I really? But
yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I'm not necessarily saying that anything will come by it, but we share information with social services and vice versa, so we can tell them what you.
I don't want you to. I don't want you to speak to me, brother. If anything, if needs must, I prefer myself to ask my sister to contact yourself and go there if that's okay.
If you want to speak to your sister and.
Well, if I get your contact details, I can always. I don't know if you want to make inquiries with my parents. That's. I'm more than happy for that to happen.
Yeah.
But.
Okay. Yeah. If you need to.
I already haven't been there enough for him as a brother. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to just drop this on him when I haven't had that relationship with my brother anyway. For obvious reason, I haven't been in the household ever.
If you need to tell us any more, you've got the incident number, and do it via 101 because we're going on to our days off after tomorrow, so it'll be best via 101, but with the incident number they'll find the log.
All I know when it comes to that is every time my mum and him fall out, he says, right, come on Jacob, we're leaving, we're going to see Nana, just like that, in that kind of tone. In her face she shakes, she's petrified. I can see it every time, and he's actually got a kick out of me witnessing that happening again, knowing that that's why I finally knocked him the fuck out basically at the age of 15.
But yeah, what outcome were you hoping to get from this appointment?
I just wanted it, to be honest, I just wanted it down there. I just wanted it to be known. And if anything, to be honest, as you've said, if something is going on,